the mic. How many people who are the founders of a scientific field, forget the scientific method because you know that as a Muslim, whether it's physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, psychoanalysis, whatever, how many of the founders of these scientists, of these fields, were atheists?
Probably none.
Thank you. Because it's either Christians or
There's a
Muslims.
but here, I'm sorry. Everybody, even Darwin, he came from an age where everybody, it's like, this country is like your world is now. Everybody was expected
This
to.
is his country, even your world is now.
Look, I live in a country with... Don't be insulting.
No, you have insulted now. You don't apologize to him. This is his country. I know what you're talking about.
Countries
You
are
never
social
waited for me to
constructs.
explain, did you? You never waited for me to explain. You get angry and think you're making a racist comment.
It was, sir, that's an irrelevant point. The question is this.
My world
Let me tell you
allows me
this.
to be an atheist.
Let me tell you this.
So your world doesn't.
Every single question that you've been asking, there are some assumptions behind it. And I just want to unravel one assumption. One of the assumptions is, if people are scientifically, technologically advanced, you're implicitly implying that that means that they're good people or their beliefs are correct. And I disagree with that assumption. Yes, I agree with you.
No, what I'm saying
Yeah, wait
is
one
you have
second.
to question why nothing has come out of
Okay,
these.
sir, let me tell you this. 1930s, sir, let me tell you something. 1930s and 1940s, Nazi Germany was technologically the most advanced society on earth. They came up with advanced things like jet engines, when the rest of the European countries were still using.
in this country.
No, that's not true. It was the
Frank
Germans.
Whittle
It was the
invented
Germans.
Look it up. No, it wasn't the Germans.
So if you want to know, just because a society is technologically
Never heard of
advanced
Frank Whittle.
doesn't mean it's good. Because you wouldn't say the Nazi Germany people were good, would you?
Okay, I just...
So your assumption is incorrect.
It's not a question whether they're good or not. Tell me something that is advanced as, let's take medical science, right? I'm sure you've accessed medical science one way or another. Tell me something that's come out of the Muslim world.
Ibn Haytham's book, the Book of Optics, this was used in Europe for hundreds of years, and this was the basis from which other scientists in Europe, before the Enlightenment, before the Renaissance, they were inspired by that. And according to historians, the Enlightenment and the Renaissance would not have been possible unless it was for people in the Muslim world sharing their knowledge on medicine, on astronomy, on maths, and all the rest of the fields.
Absolutely. Even
And these are non-Muslim historians, not Muslims. So whatever technology or something that you want to speak about the West has produced, you can always link it back to the Muslim world. Because they would not have advanced if it was not for the Muslims.
Okay, so earlier
But I don't see how this supports
See,
your world.
1 minute. One of the things that always puzzled me when I was in business, I was in the high-tech business. I dealt with a number of companies. I'm not going to tell you. I dealt with a number of companies in Israel, high-tech companies, right, that I did business with. I never dealt with one high-tech company in the Arab world or any Muslim country. I never saw one. I never saw any Muslim companies at exhibitions that I went to, yet I always did with Israeli companies. How is that?
Well, it's
So
not because...
two different things. So you never came across a Muslim technology company in Israel, okay? But you came across Israelis. Two things I want to know. Number one, what does that prove?
I'm funny.
Sir.
Yeah, well, I'm here as a joke.
Sir, what does that prove?
You see, what you get, I've noticed with the Muslims,
Sir,
you know, they can't win an argument, so they resort to insults. I'm a comedian.
We've seen how many you have won.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear
Just
it.
answer this question.
At least this man
What
uses
does it
reason.
prove?
He doesn't start being... Because you're ignorant.
sir,
You've not got any education. Well, don't say personal comments to me, all
I
right?
didn't make personal comments. I said you're looking for high technology.
sir, what does that
Company in
prove?
Israel.
Sir, what does that prove? Okay, let's
Proves
assume.
that it puzzles me, and I can only conclude that you're held back. Something in your religion is holding you back. Because it can't be that you're not intelligent enough.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're saying because the Muslim world today is not technologically advanced, there must be something in Islam which is holding us back. Well, how do you explain that? That's fine. But I'm going to take your line of reasoning, but I'm gonna come up with a different conclusion based upon the same evidence. The Muslim world came up with the scientific method and they were the leaders in science. So there must be something in Islam which led to that. But you have a valid question and a valid contention, which is why isn't that the case now? And my answer is the answer doesn't lie in Islam. The answer lies in social-political reasons, which I don't want to go into now, which include colonization of the Muslim world, which includes the fact that of the Muslim world today, almost 95% was colonized and destroyed by Western powers in the last 100 years. That has a little to do with the reasons why the Muslim world is far behind the West. And let me tell you this, the Australian Aborigines, they weren't technologically advanced and they were wiped out and they were butchered and they were killed by a very advanced society at the time. It doesn't mean their values were better than those of the Aborigines. That's all I have to say on that topic.
So how about you? Okay, earlier you said that the Quran was, like before the Quran, that was like the ground for all science. You suggested that earlier, right? And you said that the Quran was the ground for a lot of the science that we know today.
No, I didn't say that. I said
You implied it.
the Islamic world produced the scientific method, and the reason why the scientific world existed is because of the Quran. So without the Quran, there would have been no scientific methods.
Okay, so how do you explain that Archimedes invented the drill and some other Greek, historians, they created like math and stuff 600 years before the Quran was
Okay,
even made?
there's some assumptions there. Number one, maths was being, if you want to call it, invented and used by the people in the Indus Valley way before the Greeks, right? What the Muslims did is they took knowledge from the Indians, they took knowledge from the Greek, they took knowledge from the Chinese, they came together and they made a method which involved falsification. And falsification and testing is something which people didn't do prior to that. So the birth of the scientific method came from the Islamic world. Look, there's a historian, David C. Nimber. He's not a Muslim. He's a historian of science. And he says the scientific method came from the Muslim world. What the Greeks did is they did theorization. They didn't do falsification. They didn't do what's known today as science. They didn't do that. Science came from the Islamic world. And that's one of the proofs of the miracles of the Quran, that it has such a big sociological impact on the world today.
Okay, so just because the science, okay, I get your argument. You're making a valid point, but just because it came from this world, does that mean that like this Quran and all that it stands for, does that justify that it's real just because science came from came partially from your world? It doesn't really connect there.
What I'm describing is a sociological miracle, the impact on society. The Quran makes a claim. It says, if you doubt, then produce a book like this. Now the Quran, and I can go into evidences of each, is a linguistic miracle, is a sociological miracle, is a miracle in terms of the predictions that it makes, and is a miracle in terms of the impact that it has on people's lives. Now all I was describing is one aspect of the impact the Quran has had on society. Now I just want to ask you this. Have you read Harry Potter?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you read any book on the, I don't know, the history of the Greeks or history in general?
Yes, I have.
Right. You read books because it has knowledge about something which you're interested in. You use science, right?
Yeah.
And all of the scientific technology today goes back to the Islamic world, to a man called Hassan ibn Haytham. And that man, he said, the Quran inspired me to do what I'm doing. So, isn't it a valid thing for you to do, sir, to at least question what is inside this book that led to such a big sociological impact on earth?
Yes, but you can say the same for the Bible, which is another one of it. As these are
how
books,
has the Bible had a positive sociological impact on the earth?
yeah, I'm not
the
saying
Quran
that, but
has.
I'm saying it has a lot or more followers.
In what way has it had this positive?
The Quran, the scientific method.
And that's detailed in the Quran.
Sir,
We can
He's
look into
established
science.
that. He's explained that.
Not all science
It's
is
not in the book.
whole knowledge.
look, the fact of the matter is
He
this.
said it's an outcome of the Islam. It's not in
Can
the
you get my
book.
bag, please?
But
Blue
it's-
bag over there, it's hanging on the rail. Thank you. So, sir, look, you can't work out the purpose of life, the existence of God, and all these things in one conversation.
No, of course,
all I'm
of
doing
course.
today is raising what I believe to be valid questions and challenging what I believe to be wrong assertions about the world.
Yeah, and that is Darwinism, right? So, would you think it's wrong for, like, say me? I don't buy the whole Darwinism, but I can buy aspects of it. Do you think that makes me? That do I have a wrong worldview if I agree with some parts of Darwinism, not all of it, but parts of it?
As long as your worldview is based upon evidence, you have no reason to change your beliefs. So if there's aspects of the Darwinian worldview which you agree with, no problem if you believe there's evidence for that. All I'm doing today is asking for evidence for what I believe it to be wrong in its core mechanism.
Yes.
I believe aspects of what Darwin said are true. I believe there's other things that he predicted.
Can we say
which are
that about
false.
everybody though?
But I believe that to make the claim that all of the diversity of life today is the result of blind natural selection working on variations, I believe that's a grand claim, and I don't believe the science supports that.
But on the other hand, couldn't you see, like, if you see from my opinion, I could see Darwinism as the reasonable one, and maybe the Quran or any religious book for that matter to be the one that you are saying that you can see some parts of it are correct, but you still see the flaws. Do you agree with everything that says in the Quran? Do you agree with everything, every paragraph, everything in the Quran? Do you agree with everything in the book?
I agree with everything in the Quran being the direct word of God. And if somebody can show me that there is a mistake in the Quran, or there's something false, I'll change my beliefs.
Okay, so what about this? The Quran is the book, right? You can agree on that. And it is written by, not a god, it's written by a man. You can,
The Quran is written not by man. The Quran is the revealed word of God.
Yes.
It's written down by man,
Yeah.
but we believe it to be the word of God.
Yes, exactly. So that's the point exactly. You're saying that yes, indeed it is the word of God. I respect that. And then it gets down from God to man, and then man produced the book. And like Harry Potter, just if you use that example, we can say that J.K. Rowling said, okay, the God of the word of God is that this how this world exists alongside ours, and then she says this is a religion, this, and then she can start doing all these things. And at that time, what is your evidence for that the Quran was just not something that someone wrote down just because he had some hallucinations? I'm just assuming here. I'm not insulting your religion in any way. I respect your religion. I'm just saying, what convinces you that this was the word of God and not just someone writing it down, claiming it to be the word of God? As I could do today, I could write a book and say this is the word of God. Yeah. How do you? I just want to see what you think. I want to see.
That's a good question. Two different things here. Number one, I don't believe the Quran is the only claimant to truth. I believe that there were other prophets, messengers, books and messages that were sent throughout history and they have elements of truth. But let me give you my line of reasoning and then you can challenge it. If somebody makes a claim that this is the book of God and I ask for evidence and they produce a piece of evidence which for me is clear, then every single aspect of that book I have reasons to trust. Now the Quran has, I believe, many miracles. But what I want to do is I want to share one with you. And remember, the Quran is linked to the Prophet because the Prophet is the one who spoke it, and what we know now today is from him. Okay? So I'm just going to give you one piece of evidence, and there's many others.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, I believe the Quran to be a miracle.
You know the definition of a miracle.
The thing is, there's a human definition of miracle. There is an Eastern definition of miracle. I'm going with a very basic definition outside the product of natural forces. Miracle. Okay? So here's the thing. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, while he was alive, he was in a little city, and in this little city he made particular predictions, and many of these predictions were very unusual. One of the predictions he made was that he said to the Muslims, you are going to conquer the Byzantium Roman Empire and you are going to conquer the Persian Empire. That's equivalent of today, Ghana, a small country with hardly any power, saying it's going to take on Russia and it's going to take on the United States. And the president of Ghana saying, after I die, you are going to conquer America and you are going to conquer Persia, because these were two superpowers who were fighting each other and they'd existed for hundreds of years. And when he died, that is exactly what happened.
How is that a miracle?
Okay, if that is not a miracle, you tell me what a miracle is.
A miracle.
No.
A miracle is suspension of the laws of nature.
No, that is a Western definition.
Okay, what's your
That is a Western definition.
What's your definition?
Yeah, can you just give us your definition again so they can just...
Something which has no naturalistic explanation.
That's what I just said.
So how about Big Bang?
You suspend
If you
the
want
laws
to
of
take Big
nature, that's
Bang,
what I said.
could that be a miracle then? If you want to take that.
How is that different?
How is that different from your miracle? If you want to...
Before we go into the Big Bang, what do you mean by that?
How is it different what I said?
Like the question or what the Big Bang is.
Because I believe in the Big Bang. I think there's good reasons for it. But I don't see how that conflicts with the belief I hold.
No, because to my understanding, since you were denying, some Darwinism, I assume that you didn't believe in the Big Bang. But now that I know you do, my assumption is a little bit irrelevant.
Let me just explain. Look,
After the time
Let him talk, but you can help. Yeah.
now, science, when it comes to conclusions, the conclusions are always provisional, so they could change. Scientists previously, including Einstein, only 50, 60 years ago, they said the universe was eternal. It always existed. The Quran tells us the universe has a beginning. Scientists today believe in the Big Bang model. Right? Now, scientists in 50 years' time, they may laugh at the Big Bang model. They may go back to eternal universe, or they may have a different theory. Right? Now,
what's the beginning then?
the evidence for the Big Bang, it seems plausible. I'm not saying it definitely took place, but I don't have a theological reason to reject it.
No.
Okay? Hope that makes
By the
sense.
way, the Big Bang doesn't mean the universe had a beginning, by the way.
No, it's a theory of the beginning of the
No,
universe.
but it's not even a theory of the beginning of the universe. It's the universe used to be very, very, very small at the point in time. they don't know what happened before a certain time before.
Well, does it make sense to say before?
No, wait, it doesn't. Even if you believe in the Big Bang, does not mean that you believe that
Well,
the universe
I mean, 'cause
began
look,
at that point.
You know who wrote the Big Bang?
When,
You said eternal and
look,
having
look,
stuff.
when we go into something like, I don't know, how red is red and how red is that, you'll get nowhere. So to talk about before the Big Bang, these are things which we as human beings, we've just, science has its limits. Everything before that is, everything after that is just speculation.
How do you reconcile the fact you believe in the Big Bang?
What do you
Yeah,
say?
no,
they
well,
believe
we
in
just
it?
That this planet, I mean, do you believe this planet is around about 4.5 billion years old? Round about.
4.1 billion,
Something like that. And we've been on the planet relatively recently.
No, we've been on the planet, I believe, for at least 50 to 70, maybe 50 to 100,000 years as human beings.
All right, 50, 100,000 years. That's still very small.
But remember,
It's not right, but it's still very small compared with how long the planet has been.
definitely, yeah.
Right. Why did Allah create a planet and then wait 4 billion years before putting us on it?
No, but you're assuming the only reason the planet existed is for human beings. That's not
Yeah.
true. No, that's an assumption.
But why not?
That's
Why
what
not?
Islam teaches.
But why not? Why can't he place human
Well,
beings
yeah, because
at any point in time?
it's much more plausible that other creatures and the dinosaurs were here 160 million years. We've only been here a couple of 100,000.
And they
That's,
lived here
that's not
longer than us.
contradictory, is it?
Well,
Yeah,
why
but-
is it contradictory?
Well, it is because you're
How?
saying.
That's like
I'm
reading the mind
asking
of
why
God.
did he put these creatures
Okay,
here?
sir.
for
The
millions?
answer is I don't know.
Sir, let me just explain something.
So I'm asking because
Sir.
it's much more plausible
Sir.
that these things came about from natural causes.
There is a fundamentalist Christian worldview which says the earth is at the center. There's a fundamentalist Christian worldview which says the earth is at the center of the universe and the earth is only about 6,000 years old, and the only reason why the universe exists is for human beings. Now, I don't believe in that worldview. That's a different worldview to mine. And you're assuming, and maybe I'm wrong, but you're assuming that's what I believe. I don't believe that.
Yeah, but I don't understand.
You've never
I
existed.
don't understand how anybody can say I believe in evolution, but I also believe in Adam and Eve.
Of course you can. Sir, when you have that, sir,
Not every Muslim, you believe in evolution. Not every Muslim
But
believes that.
doesn't mean
No,
that
but
we
sir,
came
it's
from
not-
There's
no, no,
Darwin.
I'm saying-
We don't believe in Darwin.
Sir, there are different meanings.
I don't think
Sir.
I can disagree.
Sir, look,
believe that the
you
origins
and
of
me,
all species are-
going back, must have come
No,
from
no,
a common
no,
ancestor.
that's Darwinian.
There's no disagreement there.
That's something
I
different.
believe in limited common ancestry.
This is what we've been discussing
I don't believe
past
in
2 years.
universal
I know
common
you're talking about
ancestry.
micro, macro.
I don't believe a bacteria led to an elephant.
But you don't believe that we're
don't believe in
related to the chimpanzee and the gorilla.
So that is the theory of evolution.
Science
That means
says
you
we
don't
are.
believe in
No, no, no.
evolution.
Yeah,
That
but
is
science
a
is wrong.
You
Science
want
is
to
wrong.
between
Of
micro
course
and
science
macro
can be wrong.
evolution.
Starting from zero
That's
again.
the theory of
Science
evolution.
goes wrong.
You were here from the beginning, right?
Sorry?
That's the theory of evolution. So you either think
Yeah, I know.
either say yes or no to that.
I mean,
Two different,
you know,
I think yes, there's a larger for this.
there is a history of evolution, which is a particular history of evolution, which is the universal common ancestry thesis. I don't believe in that.
Yeah, so you don't believe in
But
evolution.
I do believe evolution has been happening for me.
Yeah, so you believe
for
in the
millions of years.
micro evolution, not the macro. So like we can
Well,
observe mutations
well,
in
okay.
cells, but you don't believe that humans and all species
Look,
came about
look,
through evolution.
Darwin's-
Therefore, you don't believe in evolution.
Okay, look, no, it's not. That's not true. Evolution as a concept was known during the time of Aristotle. As a basic observation, it was known. I don't disagree with the fundamental observed evolution. I disagree with a historical narrative which claims all of life came from a first cell through a branching tree through the process of natural selection, working on variations blindly. That is a Darwinian history of evolution,
That's
which
the
I don't
theory
believe.
of evolution.
Yeah, that's a theory, a Darwinian theory. I don't
controlled
believe.
it. Some invisible spirit, your invisible spirit.
Separate things then.
So that's what the proof is that
If you ask me a question which has some loaded terms, I can't answer it. I don't believe in an invisible spirit. I don't even know what that spirit means.
That's
I
your
believe in
God
God.
is an invisible spirit.
I don't use the word spirit for God.
Well, what is it then? What is it that you believe in? Describe God to me, because I don't understand it. Don't tell me what God does. Tell me what He is.
I'm going to explain to you
we are
what I
jumping
know
around
about
on topic to topic.
Not what He
It's
is.
natural.
God.
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because everyone's different. Has something
We
different.
believe God is one.
So it's difficult.
We believe God is unique. He's nothing like a human being. We believe He has no beginning and no end. And we believe that He is independent and everything else is dependent upon Him. And He created us with all of our values and all of the world and whole universe. And all of the universe is created to worship God.
What is He? That's what He does.
Okay. I don't know what your question means.
Well,
I mean,
you're
there's no-
on your knees to something.
That's a definition, right? You can
You're
define a
on your
unicorn
knees
and it
5
doesn't
times
exist.
a day, praying to something. How do you know that He wants you if He's there? Why would He need you to worship Him?
God doesn't need anyone.
Why are you
Is God
doing it?
omnipotent?
God created us to worship Him. And we have the free choice to worship God.
How do you know that? Only because somebody said it thousands of years ago.
But if that somebody who said it thousands of years ago had
Do you
evidence,
accept the fact that
then I have reason to believe it. But sir,
that religion, man, as long as man's been walking,
Sir.
man has created religions, right? There's a lot of religions preceded your religion.
sir,
How do you know you have the right
actually, we need to define what Islam means. Islam didn't start with the Prophet Muhammad. Islam has existed for thousands and thousands of years. It simply means submission and worship of God alone.
Which God? How many gods?
There's only one.
How do you know there's only one? There's not 2 or 3 or 4.
Okay, so you tell me this. This world, forget this world, this country, it has one prime minister. If it had 2 prime ministers, and one said,
You can't have
I
two
want to
prime
build a
Yes,
building.
but you
The other
can
one
have
says,
two
no,
prime
I don't.
ministers.
You'll have chaos. This universe is proven.
So France has a
every
prime minister
single,
and a president,
every-
so there's chaos, right?
One
You
head
can't
will
have a
be
prime
better
minister.
than
Now what you're
separate
doing is
powers.
this. You're
One
changing
head of
the
their powers
analogy.
are defined by the Constitution.
And the fact of the matter is this, my worldview, which says behind design there's a designer, behind intelligence there is a creator, makes more sense than this worldview, which says behind design there's illusion. And behind intelligence, wait, hang on a second.
Where
You don't believe
show
that.
us.
You don't believe that. Okay,
Don't show us
wait,
like
hang
that,
on,
but
hang
show
on.
us
I'm going to
in
ask you a
nature where
very
you
simple
see
question.
Design. What you don't
That trouser that he's wearing,
No, that's
was that designed, or is that product an accident?
Eyebrow, they are designed.
That's a human-made object.
Into your eyes.
Okay,
Your
so it's
eyebrow-
designed.
Your eyebrow.
What about the world? Is it designed or not? No, that's fine. But what you're doing is you're being inconsistent. I don't mind you being inconsistent, but I don't mind showing it either.
Show me the
You can't hold a worldview and pretend it has foundations when basic consistency falls up, makes it fall apart. Do you,
Where do you see design in nature, though? You use design and you use trousers. You use trousers and the ladder,
I mean,
which is not.
we've talked about this.
Show me where you see it in nature.
I see every single cell a human being has studied, has information. I see the conditions of life to flourish on earth. I see values which transcend natural selection, and I see us as human beings, when we are in trouble, always turn into a higher power. I see all of this as a cumulative case for the existence of God.
So yeah, you haven't proved the world is designed, is therefore.
Wait, hang on, you haven't proved that design is an illusion.
I never said design is illusion.
Hang on a second.
still haven't.
Wait, hang on a second. Hang on a
Design is not
second.
illusion. I can see it right here.
Okay, hang on a second. Is there design in the natural world?
No.
Okay, that's fine. This is where we're gonna park. Because if you say there's no
where it is
design,
in the natural world.
you don't.
Alluding to the natural world.
Hang on a second.
Show me where
Hang on
the
a second.
design is.
Sir, me and you don't disagree there's design in the world. We disagree on the explanation of the design.
there's design
When
in
you
the world?
say, wait a minute, you keep using this word design loosely. Yes, this is design. The trousers are design. The shoes are design.
Are the mountains
Show
design?
me in nature
Yeah, you don't
where
think
it's designed.
you don't think it's design in nature, do you?
brain,
You put words in your mouth.
No, that's a biology. That's come about through evolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
So why is
The
it not
survival of the
designed?
fittest.
Why is it not designed?
Why? And there's a simple question. A simple
No, let's
question.
stick to the same
No,
point.
no, simple
You're
question.
saying it's not designed.
It's not. It's not design. You don't think
Why
it's
do you
design.
believe it's not designed?
Why do you? Because evolution explains it exactly. The key that we didn't understand how the mechanism worked. And
Okay, so
DNA has
explain to
shown us
me
how it works.
how useful is 5% of an eye?
You could still.
do you realize
some creatures have
evolution
only
is
got
explained that
5%
a bit,
of
like,
what
already.
They can just detect light and dark.
Sir, when someone is tunnel vision and they can only see 5%, they have the whole eye and 95% is not working. If you take out one part of the eye, the whole eye falls
Wrong,
apart.
wrong. That's been explained by evolution a long time ago. You can have a photoreceptive cell.
Sir,
You can have one photoreceptive cell.
What
in
you're
a
doing
tissue.
is this. You're making assumptions, and all I
Sorry.
want to do is this. I want to ask you the evidence for this. So tell me this.
how
What
many
evidence,
creatures have eyes?
sir? No, I want you to do this.
Yeah.
What evidence do you have to show me right now that my eye is the product of natural selection working on variations? Explain that to me.
Theory of evolution.
Go on.
In nature, there are organisms that have simpler forms of what we call vision. So we have a certain kind of eye. Our eye is flawed, that it has a patch in it that is a blind spot. Other eyes don't have that, and you can trace back to simpler and simpler organisms which have simpler forms of that faculty, which is vision. You can go back all the way to a point where there's animals that have a sheet of photoreceptive cells, and that's all they have. So your notion of a 5% of an eye, that actually exists in nature, where there's an animal that has only very rudimentary vision. You have fish that have the camera eye, where just a tiny little hole and photoreceptive things, and all they can see is some light coming from here, some light coming from there. So that's already been explained by evolution. Okay, that's one example. Okay, that's your argument is the irreducible complexity of
what you
things.
did there
That's
is
been
this.
explained already.
You did something very clever. You mixed up inference and
Thank
evidence.
you very much.
You described to me in nature there are other organisms which have eyes, some which are more complex than us and some which are less. My question wasn't that are there other eyes in nature which are simpler or more complex, but here's what you did. Sir, I gave you time and I didn't interrupt you. Give me time. What you did is this. You took a bunch of examples in nature and you said one led to the other. And the presumption was due to natural selection and variations. You can't do that. You have to explain to me why.
It's called induction.
You believe.
Science.
Thank you.
If you don't believe in induction,
Thank
you don't believe in any
What
knowledge.
you did there was this. You took evidence and you made an inference. Now we're getting somewhere. Why did you make that inference is my question.
It's called induction. If you don't believe in induction, you don't believe in any knowledge, any scientific knowledge.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
Sorry, what story are you using?
I proved by induction.
What is
that-
induction? Sorry, I'm not
sorry.
native English speaking. What is
Induction
induction?
is you observe lots of things in nature and then you infer a causal link.
Here we go, sir. Isn't it possible in science, based upon the same evidence, other inferences are possible?
Hypothesis. Yeah.
Inferences, sir.
Yeah, and you call them
Right.
hypotheses.
Now what you did is this. When I asked you for evidence, you took the evidence and you made one inference.
I made one hypothesis.
You made one inference.
I was not the original.
But you and me both know science.
You can
the
have more
same,
than one hypothesis.
And how many evidences can fit into one? How many inferences are possible on the same evidence?
It's not infinite, but
Right?
many.
Now, here's the thing that we understand. I'm going to ask you a question. I have an eye, an octopus has an eye, and other creatures throughout nature have eyes. are these eyes the result of common ancestry?
To prove that,
No, I'm asking you yes or no.
I don't know. That's a scientific question.
Fine.
I don't know, but how would I?
That's fine.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, the human eyes.
Evolution says yes. Evolution says yes.
But I ask you,
Yeah.
Darwinism says yes.
So for me, how I interact with science is someone proposes a theory, and that theory is supposed to explain natural phenomena, right? Now, that theory is vetted by other people and vetted by me, by someone presenting the evidence for that theory and how it explains nature. Other people attack it by saying, well, it doesn't explain this, doesn't explain that, and that's how you prune, get rid of theories that are bad. Now, when you say to me, on a specific scientific question, the eye of an octopus, the eye of this, and what is its ancestry? Well, the theory of evolution says that it has a common ancestry, and that's how we explain the variation. That's what theory of evolution is. So, insofar that I believe in the theory of evolution as explaining the variety of species that we have, yes, I do believe that. If you were to say to me, well, how does it explain this particular gap and that particular gap? That's up to a scientist to look at and explain. That's it. So that's how you interact with science. Not everyone is going to look at every single species and figure out.
But here's the thing. You believe, from what you just said now, that all of the species alive today are the result of natural selection or working variations.
That's the only viable natural theory to go. That's the theory of evolution.
Only plausible explanation.
Now let me ask you this. Are there not atheist biologists who disagree with that and they say that's not possible?
Humans disagree.
And the reason why they disagree is the same evidence can lead to different inferences.
Some atheists believe in ghosts.
No, but I'm
Some
talking about
atheists believe in
scientists.
vampires.
I'm talking about
So,
scientists,
I mean,
sir.
what? Look, I don't know.
Okay, but what you're doing is this.
You're saying some disagree. So if you give me the specifics, just saying that someone disagrees means nothing.
No,
If they,
what it means is this. The same evidence can lead to different inferences. And science doesn't lead to certainty. Science is speculative,
depends, but yeah.
especially retrospective science.
well,
Darwinism and evolution are two different things.
you still need to use your mind to interpret the data.